A former reporter of the Washington Post expresses joy at the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. This is what the world has come to, and understanding what she says here helps us understand how we have a society of people who support Hamas or terrorists going into a civilian population and just murdering people, because the morality has fallen, has collapsed so severely that if you can justify murder, then you can murder according to their standards. She justifies the murder of this man, cold-blooded murder, because she's not happy with what he stands for and different things that come through the industry of healthcare. Shocking. What's also disturbing to me is that Piers Morgan cannot actually articulate. He's shocked by what she says, but he cannot actually articulate what I just shared with you, which is that we have to understand that murder is never justified. Never justified. That is a fundamental collapse of morality that we're living with right now. Let's watch this together.
This issue of Brian Thompson, one of the top healthcare executives in the country, I'm just curious why your first reaction would be to his cold-blooded execution. And people wonder why we want these executives dead. And then you later commented when people were giving you a lot of blowback, I'm not alone, you said. Healthcare executive down with party balloons was on a next post that you commented on. Why would you be in such a celebratory mood about the execution of another human being? Aren't you supposed to be on the caring, sharing left where, you believe in the sanctity of life?
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Serious?
I mean...
Joy at a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Of Americans that be murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And the many millions of Americans that have watched people that I care about suffer and in some cases die because of lack of health care.
So should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
But why not?
And,
why are you laughing?
I think because it wouldn't fix the system.
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street. I don't find it funny at all.
I don't find it funny that tens of thousands of Americans die every year and because they are denied life-saving health care from people like the CEO. Now, I want to fix the system. You're right. We shouldn't be going around shooting each other with vigilante justice. No. I think that it is a good thing that this murder has led to America, or really the media elites and politicians in this country paying attention to this issue for the first time. You mentioned you couldn't understand why somebody would feel this reaction when they watched a CEO die. It's because you have not dealt, it sounds like, with the American healthcare system in the way that millions of other Americans have.
I've dealt with the healthcare system in various ways in America. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but the idea that I would view it as something...
Have you been denied life-saving treatment?
The idea that I would view it as something joyful, that a man who's just a healthcare executive, has been executed in the street, I find completely bizarre. Let me bring in Tommy here. Yeah. Tommy, I keep being told... Hang on, Taylor, I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Tommy,
don't say I'm joyful. I said
you said you were feeling joyful.
Yeah, I take that back. Joyful is the wrong word, Piers.
You think?
But I said, as I clarified,
you think?
Yeah.
You think joyful is the wrong word? Yeah,
sure,
I'd say it is.
Vindicated, celebratory, because again, it feels like justice in this system when somebody responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans suffers the same fate as those tens of thousands of Americans who he murdered or
Tommy, whether Taylor wants to retract the word joyful or not, we all heard her say it, and I was just shocked. I mean, I find that kind of response utterly shocking, that someone could be murdered in the middle of Manhattan, who happens to be an executive for a healthcare company, and people think this is something that makes them feel joyful.
What's even more disturbing is she's not the only person who's expressed this sentiment. And it's the idea that because I'm not happy with the way things are, I can take the law into my own hands and I can take someone else's life into my own hands. This is the argument of the Palestinians. We don't have a comfortable life. We don't have things the way we want them to be. We blame Israel. Of course, Israel is not to blame, but we blame Israel. And therefore, we have the right to kill the Israelis. Are we going to go with this morality? This is the reason why morality requires God. And that's why we are blessed to have the Torah, the word of God, because without this, human justification takes you right down this path, which leads us to a very dangerous world.